community is urbanized. In that regard, the discussion last night on Shelburne Valley Action Plan is very valuable, and all of you were here. And that discussion needs to be kept in mind. Number two, adjust the density by reducing the height and site variances. I do not think one should necessarily build 3-story high townhomes on the land with the lower contours. One realizes the overwhelming height of these townhomes when one stands at the street level, in front of the townhomes. According to my experience, to go and look at the small-scale drawings, 3 or 4 streets, over 3 or 4 streets section, does not give you a clear representation of the height. However, I know my experience suggests that this technique is readily and often used by many planning consultants on behalf of their developer clients to justify high dwellings or buildings. In this case, height variances are in excess of 25% to 50%. The site variances along Dieppe and behind the food processing plant are excessive. That all must be reviewed and reduced. And the one which I want to show you, I think this is building 6, the 6-unit townhomes. This gets very close to the industrial plant. And my worry is that the future owner of those units will not be very happy. Excuse me. We urge Council to seek significant increase in community contribution. It should be proportional to the value of the proposed development or the land value. And finally, we urge Council, I really don't take pleasure to tell you this, but finally we urge Council to direct our CAO and the Planning Department to make a fresh start on this file. We see the planner as the custodian and an accurate interpreter of the local area plan. I believe this has not happened in this instant. On page 21 of North Quadra local area plan, right? And I quote, it states, and I quote, 5.3, consider mixed residential use for the Fatch Farm, clearly Fatch Farm, on Dieppe Road at a base density of 10 units per gross hectare. B, consider a density bonus for mixed residential use to a maximum of 15 units per gross hectare, where the development proposal provides substantial amenities, underline substantial amenities. According to my rough calculation, the residential townhome density is 30 units, 3 times, 300% per hectare without hydro right-of-way, and 22.6 or 220% with hydro right-of-way. If you take the mixed single-family plus townhomes, the density comes to about 20 units, which is 200%. And 24 if you exclude the hydro right-of-way. Therefore, Council can see a gross deviation from the local area plan and the lack of substantial amenities. This supports my request for a fresh review of this development in the planning department. Personally speaking, my confidence is shaken. Therefore, we want to reestablish our connection and confidence in this endeavor. This development, as proposed, is not ready, in my opinion. It's not ready to go any forward. I've observed and admired numerous decisions of the past Standish Council since 1970. And my long-term experience over 45 years suggests that if you approve this development as proposed, this council will be remembered for its poor judgment and wrong decisions, sir. Please make the right decision. Adhere to the local area plan. respect the local area plan. Reject or table this proposal, send it back to the drawing board with instructions that the townhomes component of the project needs significant revision. Bicycle lane right-of-way dedication should be secured now, and there has to be substantial increase in the community contribution.
Mr. Chiraghi, I believe you have stated that several times that those are the 3 or 4 things you're looking for. I would ask you to please, in respect, you've had about half an hour. If there's anything further that's new, please.
That's done.
Okay, thank you.
Please reject it or table it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for giving us your input. I would say there has been a precedent in the past that council has asked a question of a presenter, and during this presentation I did have a note asking, and Councillor Wiggin would like to ask you a question.
Please. I can remind Mr. Councillor Life Reglan about Rainbow property. Go ahead, sir.
You got a good memory.
Oh, elephant's memory. Elephant's memory, sir.
I do have a question of you. And you indicated over the years this has been changing and the density has been getting higher. The question I wanted to ask you, was there a proposal at any point that you did accept, your community association did accept?
In the scheme of these 4 years?
Yeah, over the last 4 years.
In the scheme of 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing has come out where we jump with joy. The first one was 29 units, and I felt that was a little bit too much. So we were looking for 24 units. We wanted at least 10 units as a base, and then 15 units if there is a substantial amenity. That's the whole purpose of this local area plan. And if you don't adhere, or if you don't respect the local area plan, why bother? I mean, that's a simple question. Why did we spend hours and hours, and even on this one, for what? I don't. I don't take pleasure to come and speak.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the answer.
You do. I hope you got the answer. But right from day one, this was sort of you were being.
Mr. Chiraghi,
all right.
I'm going to say that the question has been asked and answered to the satisfaction of my colleague. I appreciate very much your passion on the subject, but I would ask you to allow any further input to occur.
Thank you.
All right. 30, 45 minutes. Yeah, absolutely. There are no time limits as long as new information is being added. Are there any further speakers? First, second? Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Gailey. It's only a one-time event, although I appreciate the desire. Welcome, Mrs. Whitworth.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Catherine Whitworth, 4548 Beaumont Avenue. I would like to offer my full-fledged support to my learned colleague, Haji Chirania. His passionate dissertation that this evening is very thorough and provides an excellent history lesson for the project. I encourage Council to consider his presentation with seriously. When on the Royal Oak Community Association Executive, I participated in many large development amenity packages. I feel that the $168,000 being offered towards public amenities is considerably less than what it needs to be. I also feel that the right-of-way for the Douglas Street bike lane needs to be added now and not further down the road. Two of the shortcomings of this neighborhood are the lack of walkability and it does not provide a continuous bike lane. Further, it is also the lack of the sidewalks. In closing, I ask that you give Mr. Chirania's presentation full and due consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Whitworth. Are there any other speakers? Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. Hello, staff and Saanich team. My name is Rick Silver. I reside at 15210 Pacific Avenue in White Rock. I do work at Islands West, and I know that probably sounds a little strange in White Rock and live here, but I've been with Islands West for close to 13 years now. About 5 years ago, I moved back to mainland for grandkids reasons, but I've maintained my employment, and I work from home, and I come over here monthly. Part of my job is being on the management team, but it's also a title called HACCP Coordinator. And this is to do with food safety. I'm going to just take a couple minutes to explain the situation that's arising with this development. I'm not going to say being delayed, but taking in my eyes where my concerns are, taking a fair bit of time. We are a HACCP certified facility. HACCP is an acronym for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. It's probably the world's most recognized food safety program. It's a standard the CFA recognizes as the best food safety program in Canada. It's mandatory for dairy, meat production, but it's not mandatory for our particular type of food production. But we recognized the industry was going to start demanding it, and about 10 years ago thought we should get on board and see if we can get our company certified. With that, we did get certified in 2008, and I believe we were the first company in Vancouver Island to get that certification. Our certifier, who's a third-party auditor, is called SGS, headquartered out of Switzerland, and they spend 3 days a year at our plant, and I am being the HACCP coordinator, I conduct the audit, and so in the last 8 years we've maintained between a 95 and 99% rating, which is very, very high for the industry. Where our challenges were to get, the first year we failed. The first year was implementation and we couldn't get there. Our biggest challenges was, of course, the premise. It's an older premise when you're looking at the type of glass, risks of breakage and all those types of things, pest control, how far away things are from the walls, impervious type of walls and ceilings that are sanitizable and that. We had to create a lot of deviations, which means a lot of extra man hours to make things work, REDIC policies that would pass the certification. The main thing with HACCP is that the hazards we identify are physical, biological, and chemical, and it's more of a preventative system rather than a inspection. So the whole idea is assess all the hundreds and hundreds of hazards that are possible in a facility, going one step backwards, one step forward, and come up with a way to control those as best you can. So now you're creating the best, safest environment you can create. Just as a side note, this was created in 1959 by Pillsbury Food Group for the Nassau program. They realized that once you're going to start putting food in space, we should be, you can't do a final inspection and say it's no good. It's too late. So it's all, look at all the hazards going back and forth, and that's the way that program developed. I guess where my problem is, I don't know if I call it a problem, whatever, is right now, in January, I'm going to have my 9th audit. And the last 4 years, the third-party auditors made it loud and clear that you guys are getting near the end of your ropes to have this facility certified. Even though we spend a ton of hours and do a lot of deviations to make it work, they're making it loud and clear that we're just about there. So I'm very concerned, and the reason I say that is our customer base has us as an approved vendor, providing we're maintaining our HACCP certification. That would be hospitals, ferries, and lots of retailers and different things like that. If we lose this certification, and I'm not trying to sound silly here or make anything up, because of our premise just not making it anymore, we will lose it all anyways. So, but I'm telling my bosses that we have to have a new facility, whether it's here or it's there. We have to. There is no choice in the matter. So I just thought, in my position, I wanted your time tonight to try and give you a quick brief of where my head's at with this whole process. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Silver. My colleague to my left, Mr. Haynes, Councillor Haynes, would like to ask you a question. And given that we have a precedent, go ahead, Councillor Haynes.
If I may then, given the comments you just made about the deterioration of the facility, if the facility cannot sustain your HACCP certification, although operationally you're scoring very high, it's a facility thing, and you don't get to build here, what are your options?
We have some of those challenges now. For example, I'll just give you one of 100. A rack should be 18 inches away from a wall so that you can put your pest control traps down. It's easy to check it, you can see a long ways, and rats are, they run, or mice or any rodent will run and they'll hit the wall, and that's the way they do it. Of course, we have all the screens and doors and that. We don't want rats in our building, but they come in every building. It's just the way it is. You have to control pests. So in our deviation, where our current facility, we couldn't get 8 to inches in all areas because of no room, we had to create a deviation where all these pellets are pulled out every couple of days, reclaimed, put back in. So you throw man hours at it to still meet the standard, but it's not ideal. And that's sort of some of the challenges that we've been put up with. But
I don't think you've answered his question, Mr.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you would like to repeat it again, Councillor Haynes, and you can take another shot, or you can decline to answer.
No, absolutely.
So, Rick, the question is, if you cannot sustain this building at HACCP,
Yes, sir.
and you cannot get the permit to build in that location, what are your options?
We will have to leave the facility, we'll have to leave the area and build somewhere else. Because our customers will not maintain us as an approved vendor without our certification.
Thank you, Mr. Silver. Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Any further input tonight? Good evening. Welcome to the meeting.
Thanks. My name's Richard Aspin. I reside at 1122 McBriar Avenue.
Hold the mic down a little bit.
Close to it, maybe.
Say it again, please.
My name's Richard Aspin, and I reside at 1122 McBriar Avenue.
Oh, great. Thank you.
My colleague, Mr. Silver, there commented on some stuff. For us, HACCP is a food safety issue with dealing with processed vegetables, and probably 30 to 40% of our customers would no longer deal with us if we weren't HACCP certified. So you're talking about cutting our business in a quarter or a third of our business would then be gone. So today I'm here representing myself and the staff of Islands West. Today, with walking through the facility and talking to the staff, there was mixed emotions. There was some excitement as far as coming here tonight and the prospect of a new building and the possibility of a future and stability with Islands West. And there was some fear and some worry again about this meeting. And I'm very fortunate that I worked with some incredible staff at Islands West. And with the facility that we have, we are able to go head to head with some of the largest broadline suppliers of produce in North America. Just here in Saanich, we're able to compete with the largest companies in North America. But at some point, with our facility and the establishment that we have, we're no longer going to be able to do that. And those companies are going to take us over. So I'm the general manager at Islands West. I've been employed here for approximately 30 years. Being able to work and live in the same community has been an essential to raise my family in Saanich. I have 4 daughters who have all gone from kindergarten to grade 7 at the Lake Hill Elementary School. One of my daughters went on to get her bachelor's degree in biochemistry at UBEC. She's now at UBC obtaining her master's. Another has gone through the pipe fitters program at Camosun, while yet another is at North Idaho College on a soccer scholarship after playing all her years of soccer at Lake Hill. Working at Islands West and living in Saanich has let me be part of the community, coaching ball in Saanich for over 18 years, soccer for over 10, and being able to volunteer at such events like Operation Track Shoes. My daughters started their working careers at Islands West on the order desk and also in the warehouse, being a productive part of the growth of Islands West and getting them their first work experience as they started on their way to being productive members of the community. I cannot count the number of kids that have started their work paths or careers at Islands West. From family to friends to neighbors and just people in the community that ask at Islands West for employment for their kids close to their homes in Saanich. As a company, we support local farms and businesses, and we are part of the Buy Local program. The Fats, as owners of Islands West, Portofino Bakery, and past owners of the Red Barn Markets, have been able to create approximately 400 direct jobs and many other supporting jobs throughout the greater Victoria community. We market and advertise the fact that we are a local island-based company and are 100% locally owned and operated company, unlike the majority of our competition that is US owned. Our staff is encouraged and excited by the opportunities we have with our continued and growing partnership with local restaurants, schools, and retail stores like the Red Barns and Portofino Bakery. We look forward to our newest partnership with Whole Foods. For example, our partnership at the Red Barn Markets are working with us to help create new food cut produce items that will not only grow Red Barn sales, but will also add more jobs at Islands West. Also, our sister company, Portofino Bakery, is working with Islands West to help distribute their ever-growing bakery products. This excitement of growing business and more jobs in Saanich could quickly come to an end if we do not improve our facility. We are several years behind our competition, and if we do not act fast, Islands West will be one more company that either gets swallowed up by the large U.S. giants, have to move its base to the mainland, or just put right out of business, leaving Saanich with one more story of a long-time family-owned business that used to be part of the Saanich community. Please pass this application tonight so that the staff at Islands West can get back to work of growing our Saanich-based business, and I have a place of employment that not only has been here for myself and my kids, but will be here for their kids and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adams. I know it's mighty tempting, but I would request that we do not applaud, no matter how much you may agree, simply because anybody who is of a differing opinion may feel it very awkward to then get up. So I would request that you not, although I appreciate you wish to demonstrate that, it's got to happen outside of these chambers, please. Thank you, Mr. Aspin, for speaking. Are there any further speakers? Calling for a second time. I think I saw a lady's hand wave. Are you indicating you'd like to come forward? I did not want to mistake somebody's stretching for coming forward. Welcome to the meeting.
Welcome. Renata Moore. I live on Dieppe Road, 4287 Dieppe. Last Friday I was going down Little Dieppe and a semi was coming towards the plant. Didn't pull over, just kept going 50 miles an hour. The semi and me could not pass. And also one of the West trucks were coming right behind. So what will happen when there's more vehicles, more semis coming down? There's no, you've made the sidewalk here and green space and shorten the road. That's all I have to say. I hope you can think of that, because it is a very narrow road. And half the people will go up Kane, not along Douglas. Because Kane takes you to Royal Oak, Sydney, Gordon Head. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any further speakers wishing to provide input to council? Seeing none on the first time, I'll call a second time. Third and final time. Thank you for everyone who's spoken. I shall say at this point that we have closed public input. I did have some questions from a speaker previously that I will ask of staff before I then turn it over to staff, council to ask questions. I turned my mic off. It's a good thing I have a teacher voice. Mr. Wing asked some questions earlier, Mr. Finlow, and he requested some clarification or thought that perhaps the bylaw wasn't clear on what food processing meant and also on distribution. So the question that I took away from that, and you're welcome to expand on, when food processing is discussed, does that refer to food or animal? And also distribution, could that, as I think he used the example of a lumber facility for distribution. Could you clarify and comment, if you feel appropriate, on the clarity of the bylaw?
Yes, through the chair. What Mr. Wing was looking at was the new zone schedule for this particular comprehensive development zone. The definitions of both the wholesale warehouse distribution and food processing already exist in the bylaw in section 2. And with regard to food processing, yes, it does refer to the processing of food for human consumption.
So just to, I'm going to reiterate, I think on behalf of Mr. Wing, it is in Schedule 2 of...
That's correct. It's under the general regulations section of the bylaw, right up front, where all of the terms used throughout the bylaw are defined.
Okay, so then the first point would be that this is clearly a food for human consumption processing facility. And then the question on distribution, is this going to be only distribution of food, or could it, I think the reference Mr. Wing made, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that was the concern, it could be a lumber distribution center in the future.
Through the chair, the definition refers to the selling of merchandise. So it's a general term. Let me stand corrected, but let me just check the zone schedule.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the extent of it.
So
it doesn't specify what can be warehoused or wholesale from the site.
Okay, thank you very much.
Refers to merchandise.
Okay, thank you for providing the answer. It's not your job to defend the bylaw, just to explain it to us. Thank you very much. Council, are there any questions of staff before we ask for a decision? Councillor Worthington?
Just a question on one of the variances. Before the road dedication was, or before property was taken for road dedication, would they require a variance? What was the setback?
I don't believe they would have. I think that corner of the building would have met the setback. Partly what's at play here, the building itself to the face of the building on that block adjacent to Dieppe is actually set back 4 meters from the new property line. At planning's encouragement, front porches were added to help engage the street. And so when a porch is added, the setback is measured to the face of the post supporting the porch. And so that's where the 2.8 meters comes in. That 2.8 meters is to the face of the post at the closest point to the street. That block actually angles away from the street from west to east. So that would be the worst case condition, which is the westerly corner.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess this is to the engineer about the servicing requirements. So within the report, it's listed that the proposed community contribution, number 1, and it lists sidewalk upgrades, frontage, all that sort of stuff. That's in the servicing requirements. So why is that in the report as a community contribution?
Through the chair, this contribution of $90,000 is not in front of the development. We can only require the developer to do the upgrading fronting of development. So the developer is proposing to extend the sidewalk from the most northerly corner of Dieppe northwards to the intersection of Con Road and along Con Road as far as $90,000 would take them.
Okay, so it's not part of the servicing requirements at all. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Haynes has a question.
I'd like to just, if I may, through the chair, clarify on that point too, because I had a similar question. So the sidewalk requirement, because it looks like the development has a lot of internal pathways all of its own. It's not requiring extra sidewalk within the development, so therefore this $90,000 is for sidewalks outside the development. Is that how you're thinking?
That is correct.
Okay. My other question was, when we look at the responses today about sidewalks up Cairn Road or going up the full length of Dieppe to Quadra, there's a suggestion from the community to extend the entire length up to Quadra, either on Cairn or up Dieppe. And I see that there's $240,000 in development cost charges. How does Saanich plans for sidewalk implementation fit with any of this work? I do recall at our last meeting there was some discussion with the director that maybe there would be some Saanich work continuing these sidewalks. Can you just bring us up to date on that, please?
Through the chair, the development cost charges that this development will be paying, they cannot fund the future sidewalk on Cairn Road. When we prepared the DCC bylaw many years ago, under the provincial legislation, we had to identify the extent of the works to be funded. So this work was never included, so it cannot be funded through the DCCs. If the developer wants to go all the way to Quadra Street, we would accept that. If he doesn't and council agrees,